Josh Keaton, Brandon McInnis, and Mela Lee.
Woo! What's up, what's up? How's everybody doing?
Well, hi. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Sunday.
You too, you too?
Everybody here all 3 days?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. How many of you have been here all 3 days? Ooh. How many of you, this is your first day here with us?
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you for spending your afternoon
nice.
with us. Yeah. As we talk about video games. Are you all gamers yourselves?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Absolutely. Grew up playing video games and still play them all the time.
What were some of your favorite games as a kid?
All right, I'm so sorry, but I have to say this. I love StarCraft. I was looking at you, I was like, oh, really? You were Manx? Oh my gosh, StarCraft.
Thank you so much.
That voice. So StarCraft, I love StarCraft. I had LAN parties with my friends.
That's amazing.
That was my era, was LAN parties. So.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm more of an adventure story game type of person too. Everybody's gone to the Rapture, or Detroit Become Human. I know that's old school, but just
fabulous game.
I love seeing all the different timelines, and it's also a skill situation. So Battle Royale is not. I'll be like, we dropping, I'm dead.
Well, I'm gonna take it way back. I mean, I love. I grew up playing games like Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Brothers 2 and 3 and Super Mario World, and I was a big platformer. I also really, later on, liked first-person shooters. My favorite to this day, and I still feel like it's the best first-person shooter that's ever been made, is Unreal Tournament that came out in ’99. We used to have LAN parties with that game, and that game still slaps, still kicks ass. It's an incredible game. There's still a big user community that makes maps and makes mods and makes skins and all that, and they're not microtransactions, it's all free. Games like that. And then more recently, I play World of Warcraft, and I'm in World of Warcraft, but I played it for many years before I even auditioned for it. I still like platformers. I still like open world games like Fallout and Oblivion, Elder Scrolls stuff. And yeah.
So do you play games that you're in? Do you find it easy to play games that you're in? Do you you don't like to maybe hear yourself sometimes, or do you I'm in this game, I'm playing it?
I think it depends.
Yeah.
It depends. I had my first protagonist role a year ago, 2 years ago, in Fire Emblem, the latest Fire Emblem game. I'm the protagonist in that. And I really wanted to play it. And it's interesting as an actor going back, because when we record, and please, I'm really curious to hear your experiences too, but when you record on video games, generally, unless it's like a super, triple, almost quadruple A, even that's not a thing, but where you're recording an ensemble, generally you're alone in a booth, 9 times out of 10. And so you don't hear everything that's gonna be in the scene you're recording. You really rely on that director to give you a lot of context. Yeah. And so if we play the game, that's usually the first time we're ever hearing all the actors together and hearing it all cohesive as one whole. Yeah. So that's really fun for me. I enjoy that.
Fire Emblem too. I recently came back as Tiki, and
you're
young Tiki, and I'm doing scenes with myself.
Yeah, we have scenes together in Emblem, in Engage.
So I'm fascinated because we do them at different times, obviously, but
Right.
I'm doing scenes with myself, which is amazing.
I would say the same thing. I would say the same, like how you do want to kind of hear how it all went together, because you really only had like a little tiny piece of the story. And once you get all those other elements, it really puts your work in a different context, and it's really fun to hear what you did. I'd say, and I don't know if you've worked with Andrea Toyes, who is the Blizzard voice director.
I haven't had the opportunity.
She's phenomenal, and the reason is like what you were saying with the music and all of that. One of the things that I love the way she directs, because she's a DJ, she is very into music. She incorporates that in a lot of the sessions. So basically, when I'm doing stuff for Anduin for World of Warcraft, for one, I've played this game for many, many years. So like whenever he's talking about a place, I've been to that place. Like I've actually spent time in game in the place. So it's weird. Like when you play a massive multiplayer online game and you've played it for that long, you literally have like real life memories of places that don't exist. Like I could tell you how many steps it takes to get from this town to this town. I can tell you like all the shortcuts and all that, and I have it in my head like the same way it is from my house to like the Del Taco or whatever. Yeah. Like I can give you the exact same directions. And when she directs, she'll do two things that are amazing. If it's like a really, really pivotal cinematic scene, she'll have both of the actors in, and we'll just kind of do an improv session.
Nice.
Where she'll kind of throw, not the exact same thing, she'll kind of modernize it so it would be like a situation that would be today. And she'll kind of throw stuff at us, and we just kind of role play it and act it out as if it, and improv kind of what the scene would be in today's context, just to kind of get some of those feelings out in the open. And then the other thing that she'll do, when we're recording, she'll pipe the music from the world into your headphones. So it's like constantly there. It's constantly putting you into that place and giving you that context.
I love that.
I've never really worked with another director who does that. So
Yeah, every director's different,
I'm
and
really
I love that.
Since you guys haven't, like,
Yeah.
I'm really excited for you all to
it's
work
on,
with her.
it's
I
on.
know Andrea. We're both in Shadowlands together.
Okay, sweet.
I'm this fairy named Featherlight who plans a wedding.
Okay,
But
yeah,
I didn't get a chance. I know Andrea. I've spent time with Andrea just
Yeah.
hanging out, and she's like the
wonderful.
most amazing punk rock person I know.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
she wants all the grit, and she wants all the trauma, and she wants all the realism, and the most grounded of all. She's a huge proponent of the music. I have not gotten a chance to be directed by her.
I cannot wait for you to have the opportunity. She's wonderful. It will change the way you look at a lot of different things. Did you work with JB?
Yeah, I worked
Yeah,
with
I love
JB
JB.
and Kal-El.
Okay, awesome.
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
All
Both
fabulous
fantastic.
directors.
Yeah.
Brandon, I love your reaction when you just learned that, that Mela did a character that you either do have scenes with or that you like. Have there been other moments where you were like at a convention and you learned that, or you learned it somewhere that the person you were sitting next to does a voice, whether it is for video games or maybe for an anime, or and you're like, oh my God, wait, you did like.
Yeah.
Well, like 10 years ago, especially with anime and some of the 2D games, they would have a code name for your character and a code name for the game, and it would take maybe 2 years to come out. So you don't remember. I mean, you probably did with your incredible brain.
No,
So I was already deer in the headlights. I just done Vampire Night, and I did San Diego Comic-Con, and my second Comic-Con was in Sydney, and it was huge. And I was already super nervous. There was like 3,000 people, and someone said, "This question is for Mela. So what's it like to work with Kyle Hebert?" And Kyle was sitting next to me, and he must have seen that look in my eye, like, I've worked with Kyle Hebert. And he's like, we're in X-Men, we did all the fairs. And he was like naming the different animes and games that I was in together. And I was like, oh yeah, it's funny you should ask that question, because we don't record at the same time. So oftentimes we meet each other. Like we met for the first time at the Suzume premiere.
Yes.
And so we've worked together, but we haven't worked in the same room together. Yeah. So you guys are fangirling, fanboying, fan-theying over all of us, but we're doing the same thing sometimes.
over each other.
When we walk into the green room, we're like, why?
You
take a
played this? Oh my
selfie.
God, what's up?
Mine was Patrick Seitz. Because Patrick Seitz and I have worked together on many, many properties, anime, lots of anime, and he was directing me in Fire Emblem Engage. And like I said before, big StarCraft fan, and I always thought like, wow, Patrick, his voice sounds so familiar, But it wasn't until we were like halfway through the 3,000 lines for my character in Engage that I looked him up. I was like, oh, what has Patrick worked on? I'm scrolling and scrolling and
Yep.
scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and I go, wait, no way, my life for ire is Patrick Seitz, And I went in and I was like, Patrick. Oh, you're so good at StarCraft. Oh my gosh.
It totally changes the dynamic too. Because
Yeah.
at first you're like, you go in, you're working with this person, you're like, you have a friendly working relationship. Oh yeah, cool, what's up? And then you find out who they are, and you're like, hey, hi, what's up?
Yeah.
It's an honor to work with you.
Yeah, I'll
We've
do
been
it
working
again,
together
yeah.
for 4 months. I know, but
It's
That's
very
hilarious.
interesting. I did my first, we're pretending like you're not here. We're just having a conversation because we haven't seen each other. No, but I did my first motion capture with Tom Keegan, and he had hired me in, and it was during the pandemic, the end of 2020. So we were not only in our suits, but we were in masks and like plastic this, plus our cameras. And so, I mean, in between takes, we weren't near each other. We weren't really seeing each other except through the eyes. And then if we had scenes together, we would take things off, do the scene, and then we had to mask back up. And so we're having lunch in these different, like we're rotating in and out, and we have to sit at the end of each table. So one of the leads in the game is at this end of the table, and so we have our masks on, and we're waiting for our food. And she was like, hey, you know, my name is Ella, and I had done a vision board maybe 2 months before. I was like, this is, you know, I want to work with somebody that looks like this, and this is my idea of beautiful. She's like this multiracial, beautiful, like goddess of a woman who does her own stunts, and I was recovering from a broken back. And so I had taken this picture of somebody off of a magazine, framed it, and as I walk into my house, it's still there now. And so I'm next to like this person in blue. We're like in these blue and black suits. And she's like, oh yeah, I was in this and this. And I'm like, gosh, I think I remember this person. And then she's like, I'm just, the problem with me sitting around is I could be like at home gaming right now. I could be like grinding. And I was like, what game do you play? And she's like, oh, Apex Legends. I'm like, who do you mean? She's like, Lifeline, of course. And I was like, I'm Lifeline. But like, you know, it's like, I'm Lifeline. And so she was fangirling over me, but then I went home, and her name is Ella Balinska, and she's like this model extraordinaire and is in all these shows, but like there's no way we would know who we were. So I went home, and I like walked past this frame, and it was like Ella Balinska, and I was like, oh, snap! But I didn't know. We were just at work. But then I was like, hi.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Cool. Do any of y'all stream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I right before the pandemic started, I built a gaming PC so I could stream Beat Saber. Like no one streamed Beat Saber. But I was the Beat Saber streamer for a hot minute. That was fun.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I stream. I haven't been as consistent as I'd like, but I mean, life gets in the way. But yeah, you know, I stream a lot. I'll stream different things. Like sometimes I'll just chat. Other times I'll stream World of Warcraft, and I'll have times where I'll actually invite players, and we'll go run some dungeons or stuff together. And then I also like streaming just whatever. Sometimes I'll stream Minecraft and you know, start a new world and go try to find berries, and it never works out the way you want it to. But yeah, I enjoy it. It's fun.
I streamed a little bit in 2020 into 2021, and then it just got me. Like, I can only do so much screen time. So I'm also a musician, so I'd rather go play music in the studio. I'm working on my next album right now. But sometimes during the pandemic, we would start working, and I unfortunately had a really good rig at home. And so I would sometimes have 2 or 3 sessions a day, staring at a screen, zooming in the dark with headphones for 8-9 hours. And the last thing I really wanted to do was like go in the dark, put headphones on, stare at a screen. And I was like, there's a moment where I was like, I need to see a tree. I have to feel something underneath my feet.
I must touch grass.
Yes. So not a streamer, but also it's not a loss for you guys. I do like disaster relief sometimes, and there was this cute little 3-year-old, and he was like, Miss Mela, would you play games with me, please? Would you? And I was like, I'm not really good at it. He's like, it's okay, he's 3, right? I mean, what could go wrong? And maybe like 2 minutes into me playing, he's like, can I have your controller? Maybe this isn't your gift, Miss Mela.
Dang. That is savage.
He just played me through because it was okay.
So actually, I do want to talk about that. So you mentioned recording during the pandemic, and those first couple months, especially.
Yeah.
You know, while a lot of the world shut down, the voice acting, the business definitely did not, and you had to do a lot of recording at home. Did you all already have home setups, or did you have to learn on the fly when they, you know, and buy stuff through Amazon or whatever the studio sent
I feel like
stuff?
Josh was super professional and had like an
I
entire.
actually did already had a whole system set
Yeah.
up. Well, because also I'm also a musician, and so I've always had kind of
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a singer. I've always had
Collab.
I'd love to. I've always had a just like a rig for producing music and mixing, and it's way overkill for voiceover, but you know it's served me well, and it does well for voiceover. And I used to be the voice. There was a show called Extra. It's like a gossip entertainment news show.
Yes,
and I used to be the guy that went on the next Extra. And so I had a booth in my house for like the last 10, 12 years.
Wow.
Because I had to have one as a condition of doing that job. I had to have a booth. And back then, before like all the stuff was on internet, they had ISDN lines, so I had to have ISDN lines. So I already had the system set up, and it was a very easy transition for me. But a lot of my friends did not. I actually was like tech support for so many people where they were like, dude, I need to put a booth together. What do I have to do? And I'm like, okay, you got to get this mic. You got to get this. You got to make sure to get this to treat your room. You got to, all that. So I was last minute tech support for a lot of people.
Yeah, like March 18th through April 18th, they were like, listen, get your booths ready. If you have a booth, you'll work. If you don't, you're going to be homeless. And we were like, okay. I got 5 comforters, 7 pillows, a dog biscuit, just like, let's go.
The dog biscuit's the most important.
It is. Acoustic treatment. How about you? Did you have?
I was also very lucky. My previous career before voiceover, I was a software engineer. And I've always been like a big gearhead. I've like a master's in management and software.
It's like a master's. It's probably something even. It was his doctorate.
It's a master. No, oh my gosh, the debt. No, thank you. No, thank you. But I've always been like a gearhead, and I'm a musician as well. I do music too. And my splurge when I had that career was a Studio Bricks booth. And so when the pandemic happened, I just happened to have a Studio Bricks booth and a Neumann mic and all this stuff that I used for auditions and for music production. And then when that happened, all the studios scrambled. They were like, how do we do this? The industry has changed. Yes. We have to figure this out. Funimation, now Crunchyroll, had a time figuring out how to bring in actors. And I did a lot of the test sessions for like, how do we dub remotely? So my booth was used as the guinea pig session for using Source Connect for the first time at Funimation. Wow. And the producers were like, how are we going to make this work? It was a whole thing. But that was actually my in to Los Angeles, was when I lived in Dallas, a lot of studios in LA needed pro booths. And not all the voice actors in LA had pro booths. I mean, space is at a premium. I live in LA now, and I'm like, whoa, wow, yeah, that rent though. Yeah. But Andrea Toyas reached out to me and was like, hey, submit, read for this. And I was like, yes, absolutely, thank you very much. And so I recorded on World of Warcraft remotely from Dallas, actually, and it was interesting. But that changed our industry.
Yeah. It absolutely did. Yeah. In some ways, I want to say for the worse, though, especially for just regular animation, because there used to be a thing that were cast reads, where they would put everybody together and we would all kind of go in and read it as if it was like a radio play. And so the people that you were acting opposite would be there, and you would actually be able to have eye contact with them and play the scene with them as if it was like real life and they were right there with you. And now it's like, I value the sessions where they have multiple ones of us on Zoom, so we can actually like.
Wait, they're remote now? During the pandemic. I did a pilot for Nickelodeon, and I was so sad that it was Zoom. Yeah. They're still doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still doing that. And I mean, and that's when you're lucky. Like most of the stuff I've seen now, you're just by yourself and they just mix it together.
No.
So it's like, I went to, I have a part.
Excuse me while we destroy us all.
Yeah, no, I have a part.
I'm the young, I've only been in LA for like 4 years, so I'm like, no.
I have a part in the next season of Monster High, and I went to like the rap party, and it was so weird to me how I was talking to so many voice actors who had never done a live read. Yeah. And these are people that have been doing it for, a few years now, and they were like, they'd never done a live read like that.
Well, Owl House
and it
was the
made
same
me
way.
depressed. I was like, oh my God, that's like half the fun of the job is going in and doing that live read.
We did Owl House remotely, and then Disney was like, listen, we're going to give you a huge wrap party. We want you to dress to the nines. Now, if we had seen each other, it was either a Zoom like just an avatar, or it was somebody in their pajamas and their cat just kept walking across their screen, right? So we all get dressed up, we get dressed to the nines, we go to this place, and it was the most awkward rap party ever, because nobody knew who anybody was. And then so we finally, like a few of us were like, let's go to the photo booth. So we're standing in line, and you'd be like, hi, I'm Mela, and they're like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, and they drew my character, or so nobody knew who anybody was. We didn't have like name tags, but because we hadn't ever worked together, we didn't know who anybody was. So it was like 3 hours of being like, you look so nice. I'm Mela. And the music was really loud. Like, oh, yeah, what do you do? He's like, oh, I created this, it wasn't Dana Terrace, but like, I created the show. And we'd be like, oh.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I miss that. I think we'll get back to it.
I hope so.
But I think the good news for someone in Richmond is that now directors, if you have a professional studio anywhere in the world, I think there are some opportunities, because people used to ask us questions like, do we have to live in London, New York, LA, Vancouver to make it in the industry? And I think we used to say kind of, yeah, if you're serious about it. But for 3 years, producers all over the world have gotten used to expanding their search and looking outside of the major markets. So there's a lot more opportunity. Just don't audition for things that look right for Josh or me or Mr.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So we have a mic right there. If you have any questions, feel free. It's okay. You can be first. Yeah. Like, don't be scared to be first.
We believe in you.
Oh, he's about to throw down, you guys. Now all of a sudden there's like 12 people. That guy has a sword.
Hi, what's your name? Oh, hold on.
No, it is. Hi, Carlos. Oh, is it?
No.
Nope. No. You just have a very
Audience
resonant
mic.
I
voice.
can hear you, though.
Is there an on switch at the bottom?
It is.
It's on. I see the light.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh, that's all you.
That's a good
He actually
question.
has a family
And
thing
I actually have to schedule, like I use my calendar a lot. I mean, basically, my kids grow up so fast that like that comes first really before anything. Like if I haven't seen the kids enough that week, then I'm probably not going to stream that week. So that's going to be the first thing. The second thing is like, are there any like household projects, construction things that have been needing to get done that have to get done? Like that's going to be the next thing. Streaming, sadly, is kind of towards the lower end of the priorities because like I'll always be trying to do it, but there's other things that I have to make sure get done first. So I mean, really like work and family are at the top, and then keeping the house running would come next, and then the fun stuff would have to come after that. But yeah, I use my schedule a lot. Like my calendar on my computer and my phone, it's like just color coded and just stuff everywhere, and I live by that. If it goes away, I'm screwed. Yeah, yeah, of course. And you guys are?
I made my bed last week. Just baby steps.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. It was difficult for me because I've always had some sort of creative thing, but it's always been on the side until not that long ago. I thought, I could never be a full-time artist, creative, whatever, because I have to have a big boy job, and I did have a big boy job. And with big boy jobs comes big boy perks and responsibilities. One of those perks is, for me as an engineer, was I had a project manager, and I would show up and be like, what are we doing today? And my whole day was just, I had someone that took care of that part. Yeah. And so the transition for me when I went full-time 2.5 years ago was, oh no, I have to do that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have to run the business. I have to
That is
what am I
so
doing every
real.
day? It's hard.
Well, and also when it's your side project, like voice acting, you love it so much that when it becomes your full-time job, you're still thinking of it as a hobby, so you can't be working, so you feel like you haven't done anything all day.
That's true.
But you have actually recorded and done your auditions, but you finish the day without understanding boundaries and project management.
Yeah.
You, like in the beginning of the pandemic, they'd be like, oh, can you do a quick pickup? I'm like, yeah, it's only 2 a.m. Where else am I going? Everyone's, the world has stopped and it's over. So, and it took me like 3 months in, Erica Lindbeck was like, listen, edibles are legal here and we just need you to go to sleep. And I was like, oh, I'm fine. And she's like, 2 hours is not enough and you need to like have a schedule where you take time off. And I mean, it was hard because you only had like the few people you could hang out with. And I was like, well, what else am I doing? Because I loved it so much. But then when it's your full-time job, you have to, imagine that you would have a family or some other projects.
Well, and the pandemic blurred that line between work and home. It
Yeah.
was all at home. So it just...
You have to figure out
was no
project
boundary.
management.
Yeah.
The struggle is real. Gosh, this dream life. You know what I'm saying? Your question?
Yep. Hi, I'm Aaron. It's working
yeah.
now.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But Charlie, any memorable recording sessions that just stick in your head that you always just kind of replay in your head of, that was really fun?
Yeah. I mean, some we can't talk about because I'm sure we're all three in something we can't talk about. That'll be in the fall. We're like, that job? Ooh, yeah. For me, I think I was so grateful to be in the industry that for a long time I didn't give myself credit as an actress to ask as many questions, or you're just always like, I hope I can keep the job, or you're just almost nervous like they drew your name but it was a mistake. And there's a moment when you get to work with a team like for me with Respawn and Apex Legends. They were very hands-on, so the whole team was in there and it felt like a family. And I think like Fortnite had like 587 approximately working on it, and Respawn at the time had like 89 people working on Apex Legends, and so it was a really small team, but they really cared, and we laughed, and then they said, listen, we're not going to do an advertising campaign, we're just going to drop it and hope it catches fire, which is usually code for we're shelving your game. So we had such a great time, but I was like, that was so enjoyable. And then at 1 o'clock in the afternoon when the game dropped, they're like, listen, your game came out, do you mind tweeting about it? That was back when there was a thing called Tweeter. I started looking it up, and there was like 1 million people playing it. It had taken off, and these 89 people that had worked on the game, like their lives changed overnight, and nobody deserved it more. So when it's like, do you remember sessions? I think even the session after Apex hit, we were all just like screaming and pinching ourselves because we kind of won the lottery together. From thinking your game was over to it definitely not being that way. Yeah. So
I did not know that. And Apex?
Yeah.
Does anybody here play Apex? Yeah, as an EA stockholder, I thank you.
So awesome. Yeah, it couldn't have happened to a better crew. But do you have a favorite session?
Or
experiences recently? Because it's all pretty dreamy, by the way.
It's
you guys.
very dreamy. It's,
yeah, for sure.
I think mine is probably from Anime, actually, because it was a very technical performance. Demon Slayer, if there are any Demon Slayer fans in the audience. I'm the main villain. Five, just five. No, I'm the villain in the Entertainment District arc, Gyutaro, the upper six. And that is, thank you. That's a very difficult voice and is actually a somewhat dangerous vocal technique.
Okay, go ahead and do it.
It sounds like this the entire time. You're talking on a fry. Ooh. And there's screaming. There's a lot of screaming. Oh my God. Yeah. So I had to be really careful with it. But also, the original Japanese voice actor, Ryota Osaka, had that technique. And I sat there, and I just listened, and I studied it, and I was like, what is this dude doing? I've never heard anything like this before in any language. And I'm very proud of it. But I think I'm most proud of the vocal health practices that I had during that entire process. It's very difficult to stand up for yourself as an actor in the booth because you want to do a good job. And when you've been selected out of, 1,200 auditions, and you feel like, I don't want to mess anything up, it's hard to say, I'm so sorry, I need a break right now, or I'm going to lose my voice. The thing is, almost every director I've ever worked with will say, absolutely, thank you so much for letting us know. And so we had a very good relationship, the director and I, during that process. And it was in my booth at home, and the inside of it was covered in condensation. It was nasty in that booth.
But self-advocating is a big deal.
So important.
In any career. And it's it's a moment where you're so grateful to be there, but you're not kind to yourself. It takes I don't know where we get the permission or why we didn't feel like we had it in the first place.
Because really, at the end of the day, you want to help the process. And the process is going to go best if you're like, hey, if I can get a break, I know I can make it through to the end of this session. And so, but it's just a different headspace to get in.
Did you have anything to add before we get the next question?
Yeah, for me it would be, I've been so fortunate to work with two of my voiceover heroes, Frank Welker and Peter Cullen, one of whom is here today. On Transformers Prime, and they were like the original Optimus and Megatron that I grew up listening to, and I got to work with them, and they were playing the same roles, and it was incredible. And they were both wonderful people, and so we spent like a couple years recording that show, and I remember several years after that, I was working on a show called Be Cool Scooby-Doo. I was doing a guest spot on that, and I got to sing a Chase song. And I played like this rocker named Bones Malone, and he got to sing the Chase song for that episode. And so I was in the middle of the song, I was singing the song, and Frank Welker, who I hadn't seen in several years, walks in and he's in the control room as I'm singing the song. And so I'm in the middle of the song, so I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, Frank's here. He's never heard me sing. Oh my God, Frank's here, Frank's here, Frank's here. And so I was like trying not to psych myself out. And so I ended up making it through the song. And I'll never forget the face he gave me. He gave me the Mr. Miyagi, the look where he's just like, you know, and I was like, oh my God, Frank Walker's like giving me the nod of approval, and it was crazy. It was crazy. I'll never forget that moment. That was probably something that I'll remember when I die.
I love that.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello, my name's Jose, and this question is for Josh.
Yeah.
You reprised your role as Spectacular Spider-Man in the latest Spider-Verse movie, and I just want to ask, how hard was it not to pull a Tom Holland and reveal that you were in the movie?
Well, the funny thing is that they didn't even contact me until March for that movie, and that movie came out in June. It was super last minute. Even when the poster came out that had Spectacular Spider-Man on it, and everybody was like saying, "Oh my God, he's in it! He's in it! He's going to be in it." They still hadn't called me. Like they hadn't even reached out. They didn't even reach out till several weeks after that poster came out, and the internet went crazy. And I personally think that like the internet going crazy is what caused them to put me in the movie. Because, you know, there was I mean, this show's been off the air for like 13 years, and it trended on Twitter #1 all day, the day that poster came out. And so I think that they saw that, and they're like, we got to put him in the movie. So they reached out like a few weeks after that. And but, I mean, honestly, it wasn't hard to not reveal anything because I didn't really want to believe it myself. Like, when, because I had that experience with Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes where I initially was Spider-Man in that for like the last few episodes of the show. And they never told me that they ended up dubbing over me with Drake Bell, who was doing Ultimate Spider-Man at the time. And so they never told me. So I watched it. I was ready to see my last couple episodes, and it wasn't my voice. And I was like, oh, man. I told people about it and all that. And so even after that, I was like, I didn't want to say anything about it because I didn't want to get my hopes up. I didn't want to believe it. Because even though I recorded for it, I was like, you know what? They could cut it. They could cut it, and it might not make the final cut of the movie. So it wasn't hard to not say anything about it just because I didn't want to put anything out there. I didn't want to jinx it. I was just like, I'm not going to get my hopes up. If it happens, it happens. If not, then it doesn't. So,
All right, thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, my name is Nadia, and I just wanted to ask, how did you build your portfolios when you were starting out, and where did you send them when you first started?
I imagine mine is probably the most recent. So, I did musical theater actually in Dallas
okay.
as a side thing, and professional musical theater it rehearses at night, so you can have a day job. And so that's what I did, and I got very lucky in that a director from Funimation saw a show I was in, and basically said, "Hey, I need a singer for a project, and I know voiceover isn't your thing, but like I really need a singer, and everything I heard is like perfect for this character. Can you come in? Whatever you don't understand, I'll help." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And it was Caitlin Glass at Funimation. Yeah, love her. And so that's how I got my start. And then there were like agency things and recording demos and sending those off and all of that. But that was my start.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would just say be ready for what comes. It is acting, so take as many classes, listen to as many interviews. There's so many free resources right now online that didn't exist before. And there are places to submit. And some people think they're pay to play, but if you don't have an agent, at least it's going to cost $30 a month or something for you to have them run the platform. That isn't unusual, and some people book through there. Ahab has an audiobook thing that you can join. And I think finding classes and reaching out to voice actors that are in projects that you would like, because there's always different advice. We all have different corners of the universe, and one of them is going to be yours.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we have a little bit, we're around 10 minutes left, so we're going to try to get through as many as possible.
Lightning round.
Hey guys, so my name is Corey. I'm also an actor and musician. Like went to school, did the thing. Luckily, I mean, I recently did my first TV role, so that was cool.
Congrats.
But I am also, thank you. So in light of, like you said, the industry changing, as we know, like trying to figure out how also to get in the voice acting era, like where do you even look for agents for that kind of thing? Because I know about the live stuff, not much about the voice stuff. Yeah.
Josh?
I mean, it's kind of tough. I've been in the industry since I was like 5 years old. So, and it was a very different industry back then. Like back then, you had to basically have somebody who knew an agent, who could get you an agent. There was no internet, there was no social media. The barriers to entry were much higher. I feel like it's much different now in the sense that the barrier to entry is much lower, so the competition is higher. I mean, at the end of the day, there's so much work. Again, you guys would be able to fill in a lot better for me because like I got into the industry at a very different time, and so I'm not as versed on a lot of the coming into it that it's been since like social media and internet. But I mean, I have friends who, a friend of mine, John Bailey, who he used to just come to cons to like interview people. He was like a fan. And he had like this puppet, and he would like do voices with the puppet and interview people at cons, and that's how I knew him. And so he created his own social media from that. He created his own channel. He would upload his interviews, and he would gain some followers on that. And he basically hustled that enough to where he got approached, because he would also do this trailer voice and all of that by Epic Trailers. And so he did what are they called, the honest trailers. So he started doing that, and so he made a name for himself in that. And then he started getting like actual trailer jobs from that, and so then he ended up getting an agent through all of that. And I mean, now he's like in the new Transformers movie, and he does all kinds of other stuff. So he basically built his own social media following, turned that into a career doing what we do, like working on similar projects to what we do. He's doing union work. He's a union actor now. So I mean, that I kind of look at as the blueprint for somebody who's just starting out. You don't necessarily need to have all of the the Hollywood connections. I mean, you can build your own audience. You can work on your own content. I'm sure you can find other people who are animators. Like I did this thing. Somebody hired me for a cameo to read a Spider-Man panel, and I know that's going to go out on the internet. So I put some time into it. I like memorized it and everything. I filmed it, and somebody actually took that and they asked me and if it was okay, and I said yes, and they animated it in the style of like Spectacular Spider-Man. And so like, this guy just created content and made a bigger name for himself by collaborating with me. I mean, don't be afraid to ask that. I mean, the worst that you can be told is no when you find somebody else to work with. So, I mean, really, there's so many more resources available to be able to kickstart your own career, even Kickstarter. So, I mean, don't be afraid to look at that kind of stuff. Find friends of yours that are into different facets that you can work together with, because you can build something yourself that might be much bigger than what you would initially have thought it would be.
Yeah, it's very Walking Dead approach.
Yeah.
And it's worked out for them. They're doing okay. Just in case you guys want to check in. Yeah, but that was a bunch of people from all over the world just figuring out their different talents and putting something together that has become a double-decade legacy. So look forward to hearing yours.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, my name is McCrory, and I wanted to ask, what is your opinion on the massive rise of both indie and AA video games as opposed to AAA currently?
I'm sorry, the rise of...
Indie and AA video game titles.
Okay.
I'm going to address it just like any other art form. Anime, if you haven't noticed, in the last 10 years has completely changed the planet. Anime and gaming, how we tell stories. And I think when you have, just like with indie films, they find new ways of telling stories, new ways of doing more on less budget. And the person who just wrote, what was the fiction? I'm sorry, I'm going to forget, American Fiction. He just accepted an award, and he said, listen, instead of making $20 million movies, you could make, 2 $10 million movies, or 4 or 5 million, and then or this many $50,000. And I think it's because the act of doing, whether it's an audition or creating an indie game, creates the skill set and the know-how to create something even better. So be willing to start at a smaller level, and that's, like even a Respawn team sometimes. It can come out really amazing. But I think for indie games, there's a market for it, and I love that instead of us trying to be all things to all people, we now have niche markets in game and anime and animation, so that more of our stories are getting told in an authentic way.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's also more work for more people.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
question.
All right.
Just a couple minutes left. Hi, my name's Ben. I loved hearing that you're all musicians too. That's just finding that out. That's really, really cool. I'm a beginning amateur musician coming up, and
Nice.
hopefully won't geek about it too much. But what's a favorite piece or aspect of your recording setup at home? A piece by itself, or just something that your setup does for you that you really, really love.
Oh, okay. I like outboard gear. I still love outboard gear. I know that there's so many things that are all in the box now. I use a UA Apollo Quad preamp,
Yeah,
which
it's great.
can emulate a ton of outboard gear, and it's pretty good. But I still also have an Avalon 737 and an Avalon M5. I prefer the M5. It's just really clean. It really gives it gives a lot of signal without changing the voice at all. And then for like, I know that a lot of engineers don't like any kind of anything on the signal. For auditions though, I actually have a compressor that I really like using, and it's a music compressor. It's made by Empirical Labs. It's called a distressor. And if you just put really, really light settings on it, it's very transparent and it's beautiful. And for music, like on a lead vocal, it's beautiful.
Oh, it sounds so nice.
Thanks for asking that question. We're over here
Distressor.
taking some notes.
All right.
Next question.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Grayson. I have a question for all of you all. What's a voice line that you did and you sent it in and you were like, I hope this doesn't get memed? And I'm thinking about the Mozambique here from Lifeline.
We weren't even. There's no way you would know that would become a meme, because when we do those sessions, we call them ping sessions. You're like Snowpiercer, Mozambique, like it's like they're all of them. You know, Kraber. You have no idea that that's gonna happen, and I mean, but. There's a little part of you that I think we all love when it becomes meme.
Yeah.
Like you become part of pop culture.
Yeah.
Do you guys want me to say it?
Yes, please.
Mozambique, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name's Eric, and I'm just wondering, what kind of voice prep do you guys do before you're like going for an audition or going into the booth?
Booze. Just
Over here doing like full vocal warm-ups before every session, like doing tongue exercises. Just take a shot.
I mean, I guess if I have to do like a deep voice, I prefer to do it in the morning because
Yeah.
I'm a lot
Me too.
more
That's
that way. I do some singing exercises. I definitely like stretch your tongue out and make sure a lot of facial. We don't have really any way of relieving facial and neck tension, which we accumulate a ton of. I remember I did a different con, and they had a masseuse at the con in the green room. It was wonderful. But she
Names, please.
said voice actors have some of the worst necks she's ever worked on. She says that it's like whiplash survivors. She says because like we're always emoting and using all of this stuff, and we have no way to release it. So, and that affects your voice. It puts more tension on your voice box, and when you're working against, your vocal cords are this big. So when you're having to work against all these muscles, you're going to strain. You're gonna totally overwork your voice. You're not gonna put it in a healthy place because you're using all these muscles you shouldn't be using. So, stretching I think is probably the biggest thing. Like just having enough stretches for your neck, for your face, for your tongue, all of that. I mean, no matter what I do, I'm always
That's
stretching.
so important that your voice it's housed in the instrument. Like you're a violin, you're a Stradivarius.
Right, yeah.
And so it is affected by temperature and the weather and the season, and it's valuable. Do you know what I mean? And so a lot of people don't realize that your voice lives in the whole instrument. So, you know, being emotionally, financially, and physically fit is really important, because when you're not worried, then you've got like this wonderful playground that you can.
Gotcha.
What happens when you're stressed?
Yeah.
Tense. And all of that, it kills you. It kills your voice.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank
Thank
you
you guys
Great
so much.
question, Eric.
So we are out of time. There's only like I know there's only like 4 people. If you can, quick, like if it can be answered in 15 seconds, you can ask it.
Let's do it.
Stop thinking, just ask.
Yeah, just go.
Hi, my name is Will. I wanted to know when, of course, when voice actors get replaced, it's kind of controversial. What do you think is the quality that makes a good voice actor? Can anyone do it, or is there a certain thing about your voice that stands out?
Anyone can do it. You just have to know your voice. Your voice is what brings something to a story. Don't try to be anyone else. If you try to sign a check with like a forgery, you can't cash the check, right? So make sure you know what your signature is.
Great metaphor. Fantastic.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mar. What was your first voice acting role?
My very first voice acting role. Oh my gosh, it was Selin in a show called Shonen Maid.
Next question.
Thank you.
I have a question for Mela Lee. What was your favorite episode of Owl House that you worked on?
Talking to my mom in Palm Stings, and the last one, just because we got to, thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Hi.
Hey, we made it.
General question, just every.
Take us home, Josh.
Yeah, Favorite voice role all y'all have ever done?
It definitely have to be Spider-Man. I mean, that was my favorite. It's my favorite comic character from the time I could read, and getting able to play him, especially in something that's been so well loved and received, has been a dream come true.
My favorite roles are the ones that brought me to this table sitting next to Spider-Man.
Probably Aliyah in Fire Emblem Engage.
All right, thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much. Thank you all for being here. One more time, give it up for Brandon, Mela, and Josh. Thank you so much.